Hello everybody, this is Mike Varanakis with Security National Life Insurance Company. We're here today at the Utah Department of Insurance talking to Commissioner John Pike. We hope you'll enjoy this segment, and please stay tuned as we release more information about the importance of life insurance.
My name is John Pike. I'm the Utah Insurance Commissioner. I've been in the industry for 30 years and been doing this particular work for the last 8 or 9 months. And we have a department here in the state of Utah with about 95 people, and really our purpose is to help people understand their insurance, to make sure that the insurance companies remain solvent and doing best practices that make sure that they will be meeting your needs and the needs that they've said they would meet as you've paid for your policies of whether it's health insurance or life insurance, other types of insurance. All those things are things that we deal with here and deal with complaints and so forth. So that's just a little bit about me and what me and my colleagues do for the state of Utah. We're here to talk about life insurance, and so, I do have people ask me frequently, well, so do I need life insurance? And if so, how much should I have? And this is a very personal thing, and there are different philosophies that people may have. But for me, what I always go back to with people is I say, well, you need a plan for dealing with either yours or your loved one's deaths. I mean, we know that there are costs, and it's not cheap. And most of us have experienced this due to a loved one that's passed away, and I know I have in the case of my parents, and it's sometimes surprising what those costs add up to. So one way or the other, there needs to be a plan in place as to how you're going to deal with that. And unfortunately, many of our loved ones' passings are not predictable. And so life insurance is certainly a great way to be able to be prepared. And there are so many different options. You can buy life insurance oftentimes through your employer, through their benefits, their employee benefits. Sometimes they even provide a basic amount at little or no charge to their employees. It just depends on the employer. And then sometimes you can buy up if you'd like to and get more depending on what your needs are. There's of course the costs, the most immediate costs of burial, to buy a plot or an urn and caskets and provide for a funeral if you so desire. All those things cost money, and so whether you've done some of those preparations ahead of time or you've got to do them at the time of your loved one's death, or your loved ones are doing it for you, all those things you need to kind of look into to see what those costs would be and how am I going to provide them. Insurance is a great mechanism to do that. And then there's of course, if there's a need for income replacement, you've got to keep in mind, depending on your time of life, do you have kids that I'd like to provide for in the event of my passing, for their education, for marriages, whatever it might be. If I'm gone, and especially in my case, I had 5 children and still have one at home, if I were to go at an untimely time in their lives, I'd want to make sure, and have made sure in my case, that there'd be some provision of some income to help my wife and my children be able to go on without my annual income. So each person's going to have to decide what their needs are and what their ability to provide for those needs are by way of an insurance policy. So, but certainly, in my opinion, a bare minimum needs to be met, just to at least make sure that your loved ones can provide for you or you for them, whatever the case may be, for their expenses at death. Most of us work for a living and until we're able to retire, and we do that, to take care of our families, whether it's a spouse or children or just ourselves in many cases. But if we are leaving people behind, I think it's important to think, how would we like to help provide for them, and how much, and what might those needs be. Again, someone, either a financial planner or a life insurance agent, can help us go through those things and just determine what would we like to provide. But when you think about the most common things, how will their housing be paid for? Rent, mortgage. If they're missing my income now, do I need to replace a certain amount of that income for them to be able to go on and enjoy a similar or the same kind of quality of life that they've known with me here and working, for example? So housing would be most important, but education of children or grandchildren, do you want to compensate or allow for that? And if so, include that. Even such things as, you may wish to help them with some nice things. You might say, well, I'd like them to all go on a vacation, and be able to remember me and celebrate my life in that way. Whatever things that you might be looking at, but it's important to look at the long-term effects of losing someone and making sure that your family is provided in a way that you are comfortable with. Sometimes as we're making these kinds of decisions, it's important to remember, again, we don't like to think about it, but we might lose a child before we ourselves pass away as parents. What are our plans for that? Again, I can't imagine how difficult that would be. But if we have the option, we might want to consider whether, again, it's through employee-sponsored life insurance, group life. Most of the time, you can either buy it for yourself or for yourself and a spouse, or for yourself and your family, your children. And children are going to have very similar expenses at their death as an adult, of course. And so you might want to, again, unless you're prepared to be able to write a check or pay at the time that untimely event happens, life insurance for children is important too, and typically you can buy that if you have an option at your employer. You can buy a family coverage policy, and usually it's a little less. It might be $15,000 or $25,000 of coverage instead of more. But again, the thought there is you're not looking to replace income typically for a child, but you still would want to be able to take some of that financial pressure off yourselves, and be able to focus on them, and you're dealing with your grief instead of worrying about the costs of burying that child. Insurance is one of the vehicles that we use in our modern society for minimizing risk. And so in the case of life insurance, it's a great way to be able to say, okay, whether it's untimely, whether we see it coming or not, it's important to be able to deal with what your wishes are for your family. Life insurance is a way we can do that, both for the immediate costs at someone's death and the longer term replacement of income, and being able to take care of your family. So I encourage people to look at life insurance, to talk to an insurance agent of your choice, to go online, to do the research and determine if so, what type of life insurance would best meet your needs and those of your family.